Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Discussion Politics. Today, we're going to talk about the legislative process and the voting rights bill that's currently being passed in the Senate, and it's getting blocked by the president because the president doesn't have the ability to veto on the bill yet, but he seems to support it. Now, there is a bill being legislated through the process of the House of Representatives proposed by one of the Democrats. Greg something, I forget his name, but he introduced a voting rights bill, an act to improve voting rights in the state of Texas. And this has led to some great insights on new information regarding voting rights and reforms that typically are not a viable option when there are many Democrats who support a bill which in turn will improve voting rights for citizens across Texas and many southern states, which is the reason for election processes going off the rails. And one of the biggest Democratic protests is the GOP last election was kind of hell-bent on removing voting rights and destroying the notion of choice based upon many of the election outcomes, many of the election disputes that had occurred throughout many of the states, even including Michigan. Georgia especially was a huge conflict that occurred based upon the voting rights bills that weren't very sturdy and very secure in place. And since those elections that occurred, I think last November, there has been a massive change and a dramatic change in the way of voting rights and leading the effort on passing voting rights bills through the Senate and then eventually to the president, which the president can sign. And the Democrats are urging the president to sign these bills, which will increase the ability for many more citizens to vote for their conscience, vote on who they think is the greatest candidate, and it will allow for accessibility among many, like let's say, low-income voters who have a difficult time registering to vote because of restrictions that their state has, or maybe even there are some requirements that you need to vote. You need a license, registration. You need to wait for the authentication of the actual voting registration. So there are a lot of hurdles to actually getting out and voting. And then one of those things are the bill is trying to improve currently is the fact that this bill will lessen the restrictions and create a better alternative for using voting rights and for the purpose of giving many other opportunities to people to vote on their conscience and whoever they think is the greatest candidate to win. The Democrats are definitely supporting this bill. Obviously, there are some contradictions within the party, and they will vote to not pass the bill, which is totally fine. And also, the GOP is opposed to voting rights because I think the gerrymandered districts support the Republicans outweighed the prejudicial amount of voting rights which occur from simultaneously distributive gerrymandered districts. And the districts occur through gerrymandered judges that support various groups in turn using a partisan eyeglass to facilitate a generic gerrymandered district, which causes lopsided use of maps, use of political processes, and documents which follow nothing short of bias towards one viewpoint. Adding on to that, the Republicans believe there is nothing to speak out against when there are people on the other side of the aisle attempting to silence the votes. And their point is that we aren't silencing the votes. However, with the current gerrymandered districts and the current laws in place, including the state laws, the state policies that have influenced the last election with Joe Biden, the important battle has yet to be finished. So basically, the Democratic uh, House members are using voting rights to urge the president to pass something of a particular bill in Texas, mainly in Texas, because of the outrageous restrictions on voting rights, and the ability to vote is definitely prohibited in those states, in that particular state, heavily to favor one side of the aisle of the parties. Republicans, of course, gain that influence, being it's a southern state, in a red state, which almost always uh, wins Republicans during any presidential election. Now that's all that I have for you guys today. Thank you for watching and have a great day.